Hello students, myself Devesh Singh from LPM Public School Gola Bazar. Dear students, as this is revision time and in the previous classes you have received the explanations of this chapter, but once again we are going to revise this chapter. Now this chapter number 2, land, soil and water resources. You know that these are the very important resources for us, and without it is possible to survive for human being on this earth. Without land, soil and water, it is impossible to cultivate our land, to produce harvest for us, and also it is impossible for all the human beings. Now introduction, you can see here that land is a very important in natural resources, and there are many resources such as minerals, forests, the life forms that is related to plants and animals, and also our land is classified in different type of soil, and the surface water is also related to rivers, lakes and sea and oceans waters. Dear students, you know that on this earth the human settlement is also very critical due to the increasing population on this earth. Let us understand that the land and the other important resources such as soil and water and their use is more detail. Okay, the land resources. We all live on this land, and we also dependent on agriculture and various other purposes on land. Firstly, you have to understand here the percentage of the earth, that is land. It is only about 30%. The total of the only 30% the earth's land, the earth's surface. One third of the earth's total land area, and the rest of the remaining portion is water. The land surface is also not the same everywhere, and there are level plains, uplands, or plateau hills and mountains at various locations. Different types of land present different types of resources, and this is not correct that each lands present the same resources. Different type of land present different type of resources, mean there is variation, and all places are not evenly populated. Some places uh, low populated and some places more populated. In addition, the areas with extremely cold or hot climate are sparsely populated, and climate is also a great factor to affect our earth, our land, our surrounding. For example, you can say that the Arctic areas, the deserts, and high mountains are unfavorable for activities and practices such as farming. And for the peasants, because the agriculture is the most important, and the dependent works for the peasants, they all are dependent on these resources. So some climate is also not favorable for the peasants to do their harvesting. On the other hand, most of the plants across the world are very fertile, and to have a very nice production, we requires the fertile land. And in this land, this is also a different type of land. Some land is extra fertile, and some land is barren, and some is also wasteland. Generally, humans tend to live in areas with a moderate climate, fertile soil, and level land. So they are the most populous areas in the world. Now, land use, how we have to use the land. Generally, you can understand here that land is especially used for agriculture, settlements, and other urban developments, for road industry by humans. These are the factors for where you have to use the land in the field of agriculture, in the field of making houses, in the field of established industries, and also for the development. Now, land use. Land use refers to the economic use of land. Economic use of land. The land can be used as agricultural fields to cultivate crops or as industrial areas to establish factories. Because a great part of the land is also covered with vegetations. There is forest, and also some parts is covered with industrial area. So, the physical elements that covers the land, and the vegetations, building or water are included in it. So, land use depends on physical factors such as topography, climate, availability of water, soil, and minerals. Means now you can understand here that the land use, it is dependent on as to topography is physical feature of the soil, physical feature of the land is called topography, and also to the climate and availability of water, soil, and mineral. These are the factors requires for the production of land for the agriculture, and if these things are not present, definitely it is impossible to cultivate a land and to also get a nice production. It is estimated that about 11% of the Earth's surface is used for cultivation. And students, you have to learn here, remember here, that the total land, the cultivating total lands percentage is 11%. Forests cover another 28%. And total, the forestry part is 28%. And the pastures, while pastures account for 34%. Urban areas cover approximately 5% of it. और जो urban area also has covered about to 5%. Okay, and the rest of the land resources include land that could be productive but has been used for economic purposes such as build up structures, parks, gardens. And barren land and even wastelands are included in this category. And the rest of the remaining portion is categorized in barren land, in wasteland, also for parks, gardens, and other built-up structure. That means that the remaining portion is categorized in these all factors, in these all points. Okay, the land use also varies from one part to the world to the other, and also within a smaller area. Changing of the other and also smaller area. The pattern of land is usually one of the main reason for many process of environmental changes. And you can understand here the remaining portion of the land is categorized in barren land, wasteland, also into the build up structures like that you can see that parks and gardens. So these are the categories land for the remaining portion. Now, you can also see here that the influences the basic resources of land use, including the soil, poor land management, has degraded vast amounts of land and reduced our ability to produce enough food. That is major threat to rural livelihood in many developing countries. Classification of land. Land can be classified on the basis of ownership, and it is also known as private land, community land. Private land is a land that is owned by a person, मीन्स वहाँ पे सिर्फ एक ही व्यक्ति का अधिकार, वो होता है प्राइवेट लैंड, जिसमें एक व्यक्ति विशेष का विशेष परिवार का अधिकार रहता है. दैट लैंड इज कॉल्ड प्राइवेट लैंड. बट द सेकेंड इज कम्युनिटी लैंड. तो दिस इज द लैंड वेयर each person, each citizens of that particular area, that particular country can use that land is called as community land. Like that, park, roads, forest, etc. So these are the land students, park, road, etc. These are the lands. It is used by any persons, any person here. Now, changing pattern of land. You know that land has been also changing over the years. Human populations has been increasing at an alarming rate, and so have their demand on land. You know that lands can be also changed one by one. One by after one period, and it takes thousands of years to convert it from one to another form. Agriculture, mining, deforestation, roads, industry, and settlements are some of the changes made by humans to the land use, and all these points are categorized here to for the land, and we use it in these uh, various uses, like that in the field of agriculture, mining, deforestations, roads, industries, settlements related, matlab houses, okay, establishing houses, in infrastructures, okay. Scientists estimate that between one third and one half of our land surface has been modified by human activity. This is a great matter categorized by our scientists, and they estimated it very beautifully. They estimated it very beautifully that one third and one half of our land surface has been modified. Now, land degradation. Land degradation happens when the land is no longer suitable for agriculture. Some important reason, some important reason for this including increasing population and ever increasing pressure on land, deforestation, soil erosion, overgrazing by animals, excessive single cropping, and expansion of cities and salinization. Together, all these are the responsible for the removal of nutrients from the land and add to this natural disasters such as floods and landslides. Okay, this is land degradation. Land degradation is related to deforestation when you start to cut the trees. Okay, also you can see that soil erosion means the less the less of soil, or you can see that the cut cut down of the soils from one to another place is called soil erosion. The soil erosions, natural disasters, floods, landslides, these all are the parts of land degradation. Okay, land degradation. And land degradation is a very huge matter here, students, as it land productivity goes down, leading to uncertainty about food. And it also, the land degradation also leads to migration, and also to the destruction of ecosystem. Means this is also very affected for our ecosystem, and it also make people make people pressurized to migrate from one to another place. So sometimes it is very expensive to reclaim degraded, and it is also not good for a better balance of our ecosystem.